Are you familiar with the Musikfest conference that happens in Pennsylvania? We're going to tell you about that with one of the organizers of a special conference happening at Musikfest on today's PMEA's Take Note podcast. Well, everybody, and welcome to this edition of PMEA's Take Note podcast, another on-the-road one here at the 2026 PMEA conference at Kalahari in the Poconos. And I'm super excited to just have a fun chat, I think, here with Marissa Guarriello. And there's like a whole bunch of, I don't even, your official title was Assistant Professor of Music and Human Learning at the University of Texas at Austin. I think I know you more as like former PCMEA president and just a lot of the other great things that you do that we're going to talk about. So thanks for being here, taking some time.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we love having you back here in Pennsylvania and at our conference. And
selfishly, I'd love to be back here too.
That's great. And fresh off of presenting.
Yes.
And here to chat.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, we're going to get into some of these titles and all these amazing things that you've done, but I want to go back to the beginning a little bit. So, obviously, music is a huge part of your life.
Yeah.
It is your life's work. It's kind of not just a job because you keep doing these other things, it seems. So, as you look back, what was your initial interest in music? Is there a point where you're like, I want this to be a career? Take us back a little bit.
Yeah. When I was growing up, my mom was a pianist, and she made me and all of my siblings play an instrument from a young age. I had a very innate interest in, my primary is violin. And so when I was 3, I really wanted to play violin. We were living out in central Pennsylvania. We didn't have a ton of great resources. So my parents tried, and we stepped away for a minute. But when I was 5, my mom said, well, let's try piano. Did piano for a few years, but then I really always had this love for the violin, and eventually we made that switch. I think my private lessons school experience was fairly normal. I'm a product of the Bethlehem Area School District. I started playing in their orchestras when I was in 3rd grade, and actually picked up the French horn mellophone so I could march in high school, played that, I guess 4th through 12th grade. And at some point in high school, it was just, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. It was just very clear. I was doing a lot of playing, a lot of gigging. I thought for a little bit maybe performance, but music ed ultimately was the better fit for me. And I'm grateful for that decision every day. So yeah, very organic. I don't think there was any this is it moment, and just love it.
So then you're in college, and you're a PCMEA member doing all that stuff, but then you end up being the statewide PCMEA president.
I actually don't know if that's true.
I thought you were,
No, I did do the advocacy day.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, that was just as a PCMEA member.
I didn't, okay. You must have been just so remarkable that I thought you had to have been the president, because I seriously, I remember you being there with us in Washington, D.C., and you just kind of fit in so much with all the music educators that were there with us. So, okay, but you were involved in PCMEA.
Yes, pretty heavily towards the end of my college career, and shout out to Dr. Linda Thornton. She's the one who reached out to me and said, we're looking for some collegiate members. Would you be free? And I happened to be free for that advocacy weekend, and that was actually a really life-changing weekend for me. I got to meet so much of the PMEA leadership and start to see the inroads of what was happening there, but also just to have some time with the legislature and hear those conversations and really understand. I think at the time it was the ESSA bill that was being passed. To hear those conversations and the impact they were having directly on our field, it was really powerful.
And so then, as a collegiate student, I guess that was kind of this is a whole new thing, because obviously that's not something you're going to cover in so many of the classes that you already have to take.
Yeah.
So, was that something you took back and was well, this is an eye-opener in some ways, this whole other end of music ed?
Yeah, I think just being aware of the legislature. As undergrads, we talk about the national standards and maybe some other things that are required through the state or the federal laws, but we don't really talk about the nitty-gritty legislature. So just having that experience and hearing those conversations again, it was okay, yeah. So I carried that with me moving forward. And I think a lot of it kind of came together actually when I was in grad school. You know, when we talk about politics and philosophy and sociology and all of those things, how they kind of commingle to end up with the policies that are ever changing. I was like, oh, okay. And so to have that real life experience to lean back on and see the real life impact, it was, yeah, it's great.
So take us then, like after undergrad, like what happened for you there?
Yeah, so I was a spunky 21-year-old, and I wanted to get out of mom and dad's house, and I ended up accepting a job at the Woodlands High School down in Texas, actually.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite marching bands in the country.
It's everybody's favorite marching band, yeah. And I was there, and you know, I knew what Texas was, and I thought I wanted that, and I got there and I realized it actually wasn't what I wanted. I mean, the students in Texas are fantastic technicians, but the UIL system and just some of that competition, it is for some people, and I was not one of them. And so I was missing my family, and I found out the system of music education wasn't my game, and I came back to Pennsylvania, and I actually got a job at Palisades High School in Upper Bucks County. Could not have been more different from my experience down in Texas. Sure. At Texas, I had 5 orchestras, you know, string orchestras. It was my whole job, one building, that sort of thing. Came to Palisades, took over a 312 program. I was itinerant across 5 schools. My high school ensemble was 20 kids, you know, like just
complete upside down change.
Exactly. And while I think, you know, the Texas part of my brain was a little scared of that, it actually led to just so many wonderful opportunities for me to grow as a teacher and for me to elevate the program in ways that it just hadn't explored yet. I was there for a little bit, and then I moved next door to Penridge, just a little bit different community there, and I was there for several years, taught through COVID, and then ultimately I decided I wanted to go back for my PhD. While I was teaching at Palisades and Penridge, I was doing my master's over the summer at Eastman, so I was able to accomplish that over the summers. But that's really where I fell in love with research, and I was kind of like, is a PhD for me? And then ultimately some conversations with IU were happening, and you know, they said we have funding, and I made that decision. So but a bunch of public school teaching while I was also exploring the research world as well.
And so then how do you end up at the University of Texas? And
That's a whole different story. No, I mean, I got my PhD with the hope of being a college professor, knowing that an R1 institution was not likely. Tenure track positions are getting even harder, and I mean, string positions even of themselves in higher ed are.
You really set yourself up here.
I know, you should have. Oh my God, my mom was a mess. No, but yeah, and I knew I wanted to do that. So I was finishing my dissertation. A visiting position came open at UNCG. University of North Carolina, Greensboro. Rebecca McLeod, who hopefully everyone knows, she's an amazing string pedagogue. She was moving to Illinois and leaving an incredible program. Again, shout out to my Penn State colleagues. They said, hey, this position's open, you really need to apply for it. And I did, and I ended up there for a year. Throughout that year, several other openings opened across the country, which was very rare. And because I was in a visiting position, the way they work is you're not guaranteed to come back the next year. I interviewed for the UNCG job. Everything was very positive. But I ended up getting the UT Austin offer. And Lori Scott, also an amazing pedagogue who's really just made a national impact. She was retiring, and UT won my heart. So yeah, just a cool city, an amazing program. The Butler School of Music in general is fantastic. So the students are amazing. The program and the string project that Lori left behind was amazing, and also their support for research is top notch. So all the things that were hard ended up kind of happening, which was
Right.
amazing. And I just feel so privileged every day to be
From
there.
Texas, right?
Yeah.
Out of undergrad, back to Texas now, all those years later.
Yeah, my parents, they were like, "Are you serious?" Yeah. So I was a little nervous to go back to Texas, because I
Sure.
purposely left.
Right.
But it's been nothing but positive. So
Yeah.
I'm really thrilled.
Interesting. Yeah, I think we'd have a whole separate podcast and conversation just on music education in Texas.
Yeah.
Because I think people, realize it's different, but I'm not sure they truly realize what a different world it is. And you talk about UIL, and if people don't know about that, that's a whole separate podcast too. But go look that up and just see how that is such a game changer from what happens, in most other states.
I think it's interesting. One of my current grad students actually did her undergrad at Kutztown. She's from here, and all the time our conversations are, "Oh my God, what did you guys do in high school?" And so I think it's great for everyone to understand and know the differences, but it's very apparent once you get down there.
It is interesting how much UIL has also influenced, for good or bad, we can debate that another time, but for good or bad, influences on how other states, other national organizations have run, because it is so predominant in what happens there, and the schools there are so different in so many ways, size-wise, and just then probably because of the size, how instruction is offered in a K-12 setting. It's very different.
It's very different. And I mean, in many ways, very successful.
Absolutely.
High achieving, fantastic technicians in terms of their students. Yeah, it's incredible, but I also think if we tried to replicate that in other states, it just doesn't work.
It's just part of that culture that's been ingrained there. And it is fascinating to watch.
Yes.
And I agree with you, and I love seeing what these programs do, but I'm not really sure that that's where I would want to be a part of as well. So I understand your thinking on that.
Nothing. I mean, again, I loved my students. I loved the school. It was absolutely nothing against anything specific there. It was just the system was so different.
Yeah. All right, so you're involved with Musikfest here in Pennsylvania. So, how in the world does that fit into all of this?
So I grew up in Bethlehem, and so Arts Quest and Musikfest have always been a part of my life. It started in '84, so before I was even on this earth. Very integral part of the community. I'll throw out there that Musikfest started as a standalone festival, and it actually turned into Arts Quest. It wasn't Arts Quest created this, which I think speaks to how powerful the festival is in and of itself. Basically what happened was I had worked for Arts Quest doing summer camp counselor jobs throughout my time in high school. It's right down the road from me, good summer pay, and it's just for the summer, so I was able to focus on my studies while I was at Penn State. Did it, loved it, didn't think too much about it. Started teaching. I was doing my summer master's at Eastman for a few years, so I wasn't there anymore. And then when I was getting my doctorate, I needed a summer job, and so I looked at Arts Quest, and I figured I could go home or I could stay in Indiana, and decided to come home because I got a programming assistant job with the music department at Arts Quest. I think the conversation when I was hired was, she's a musician, she knows Arts Quest, she, all of the things to be a programming assistant. And I thought to myself, well, I've got 2.1 degrees. I'll be fine. This will be great. Good little summer gig. And when I got there, my teacher brain was just lit on fire by how much I didn't know. I mean, everything from the everyday lingo to how what we would refer to as modern or popular bands operate, to the behind the scenes logistics of touring and sound production. And I mean, just so many things that we go, yeah, it exists. We don't really think about it.
Yeah.
And to also see so many jobs in music that I didn't even know existed, right? I had classes of kids who might have wanted to do these things, and I was so frustrated that I never didn't tell them, but because I didn't know they existed.
Right.
So ultimately, I stayed with Arts Quest for several years as a programming assistant, and then as I was finishing my dissertation, I went back as their head of music programming, where I really got an inside look on the finances and the back end and the business and working with bands and all of that. which then spiraled into this conference that's now happening because I just felt so strongly about it as a teacher. Did my dissertation on these subjects as well. And yeah, so I've maintained this relationship even during my time in Texas because I just feel it's so important.
So, okay, let's just level set for people who, first of all, who might not know what Musikfest is. Like, tell us what this 2 weeks is.
Yeah, so Musikfest is a 10 or 11 day festival. It happens every first week of August in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. It is the largest free music festival in the country. It has 16 stages, 15 of them are free, and then there's a main stage where, you know, a lot of our bigger acts go and you buy a ticket for that one. But I mean, over 500 performances over the span of these 10 days, lots of food and drink and merriment. I mean, hugely impactful for the community. For those who may not be aware, Bethlehem Steel shut down in the 80s, early 90s, and the economics of Bethlehem were not looking great. And so a lawyer actually went to, I believe it was the Chamber of Commerce, but don't quote me on that, and said, you know, we have to do something to revitalize this downtown. And they came up with Musikfest, and it was a very kind of backyard, bring your blanket and your chair and, you know, see a few bands. And it had just spiraled and grew and grew and grew, and now it's this national thing. I mean, we track where people come from, and it's many different countries, and definitely all across the states. And it's something that a lot of bands aspire to play at, and so yeah, it's just this massive kind of celebration of the arts in Bethlehem.
And here in Pennsylvania, like if you don't know about it, it is awesome.
It is so much fun.
It is so much fun, and the food is amazing. And it's just, merriment is the right word.
Yeah.
All right, so then there's this conference now.
Yes.
That I mean, was this kind of out of your brain?
It was an amalgamation. When I came on as a programming director for ArtsQuest, I'll hand it to Patrick Brogan, who's our what's his official title? CPO, Programming Officer. And he said, you know, I know you're not an arts administrator. I know you have some background, you know, you've been here for a while, but I know this isn't where your training is. And so we're gonna shape you up. But also we had this other idea about, you know, some conferences. We want it to be maybe South by Southwest-ish, and, you know, we don't know, what do you think? And I said, well, I don't know if I can give you South by Southwest, but I do know there's a gap in music teacher education, something I feel pretty strongly about. We can, you know, try out some kind of music industry conference if you want. And so, yeah, he was like, yeah, let's do it. And so that was kind of the initiation of this initial conference. It was in our first year, which was 2 years ago now. It was heavily geared towards teachers. Modern band methods, some technology, some innovation, but really all kind of tied to this idea of music industry and a little bit more behind the scenes. This year we've expanded the footprint massively. It includes a band showcase, but we also have really clear tracks. So, you know, live and sound production, artist development. We've kept the modern music education in there, as well as others that really allow people to say, like, this is what I'm interested in the music industry. So, I mean, we have everything from how independent artists can prepare their taxes to students. You're giving a session on, you know, careers in music education to you know, we have people coming in and basically setting up small studios in their rooms and giving demos on recorded and live production. And so, I mean, kind of a much larger span this time for a larger audience. And we've also really tailored it so that it's appropriate for performers as well. People who are entrepreneurs trying to start their career or are out there and they're already gigging and doing things, but they want to elevate it in some way. So we've really kind of tried to widen the scope, and I think there's possibility to keep it
for sure
widening over time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, you know, back to a point you said earlier about kind of like the realization you came to of like there's all these careers. And so as I'm there at the first one, my session's in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And so I'm observing like what's going on. And so I go to lunch with a colleague who's there, and I'm like, I'm nervous. Because, you know, I'm thinking, was what I'm saying too simplistic when I'm talking about look at all these careers and giving advice? And I'm like, no, I'm saying nobody's gonna come to this. because they've got to know this. Like, I'm completely second guessing myself.
Sure. Yeah.
So go into the session, and it's a pretty full room of music educators, and the feedback I'm getting as the session is going is, yeah, we know this stuff happens, but we kind of never thought about it. It's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
All of these career pieces that you don't realize happen to, there is accounting.
Yeah.
There is all of that other stuff behind every musical act that you're seeing perform. Everything that's in any business is there.
Yeah.
And we're lucky enough that there's some resources out there now that we can point people to, because a lot of people that are smarter than me have come up with these, like, hey, let's actually dive into this. So it's really, and I'm seeing the sessions like this happen more, but I think it's just so important to emphasize what you did in Musikfest and ArtsQuest said, okay, we're going to invest in making this happen because you've identified that gap.
Yeah.
And now you've identified probably some more gaps, which is why you've expanded it, which is just amazing. So I just will tell music educators, look into this, and you can get Act 48 credit.
Yes.
While you're there, which is just great, and then you can enjoy Musikfest.
Yeah, and that I will also point out, that's a huge piece of this. I mean, we took a year off last year. I had left ArtsQuest. I was, finishing my PhD and all of that kind of stuff. So we decided to table it for a year. I went back to Patrick and I said, I've investigated other places maybe to move this, and I just said I really think Musikfest is a home for many reasons, but probably the largest is that you get to come to the conference for it's 10 to 5 or whatever, and then you get to walk out the doors and see everything we just talked about in action.
Exactly.
Right, and I was like, I just don't think this can be replicated like this anywhere else. And the fact that the festival is free makes it accessible to these people, right? It's not one of these gated festivals where we're paying thousands of dollars to go see the acts.
Right.
So, I mean, in so many ways, it's just kind of this magical combination, and I'm beyond thrilled that ArtsQuest said, this is something that we can continue. So
all right, where do people find out about this if they want to come to the conference?
Yeah, so if you go to musikfest.org, you can find a tab, click on, Musikfest Conference. Because we are primarily a ticketed venue, you buy tickets for it instead of register, but you register. Yeah. And you can also learn there about all of our presenters, and I'll just share briefly that our presenters this year are incredible. They're from across the country. We have the Martin Guitar CEO giving a talk at one. We have the Foundry Recording Studio coming in. We have the Museum for Music Technology doing 5 amazing sessions, and then we just have some leaders in the field as well doing band coachings and sharing their expertise, a swath of agents, programmers from across the region. I mean, the presenters are stacked this year.
There's like a mentoring component this year,
There's a mentoring component as well, where we just essentially have people kind of set up at tables to have conversations as people might be interested. All of that information is on the website. There's a discount if you're a PMEA member. There's a discount if you're a student. And there's also a family and friends discount as well. So if you have a spouse who might want to come experience the festival as well, we have that as well. So really exciting stuff.
Well, so I'll encourage people to go look at that. I'm looking forward to being there again. The Musikfest part is great, but just being around all of these people and just all of the new areas that you're bringing in this year should be awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, we're excited, and we're also really excited because I'll say, sometimes you go to conferences, a lot of the same people. Yeah. And this year, we do have some repeat presenters, but really a lot of new voices.
Yeah, I'm seeing some names on there. I'm like, all right, this is cool.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
So, and part of it is that the industry and education sectors really don't overlap often.
Right.
And so I'm just so excited that these people are coming from these authentic backgrounds.
And there's how many partnerships or projects are going to be born at this conference, because the people who may have never met and crossed roads, and there's great conversation happening.
I hope so many. Selfishly, I'm running a research survey, so hopefully we can get some stuff into the Music Education Scholarship about this as well. But yeah, I mean, I think last time as well, just so many people who I knew from, I knew this person from Penridge and this person from Texas or this person from IU. Like, they all came together, and now I feel like there's this web and they're all working together. So happened on a small scale last time, and I hope it just
So your journey from Pennsylvania to Texas to Pennsylvania to North Carolina to Texas really is paying off here. And in Indiana, and they're thrown in there as well. It's all paying off now, right? Like all these great connections.
I hope so. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Marissa, thank you for joining us and taking a little time out of the conference.
Thank you.
Really appreciated getting to know your background, and again, visit the Musikfest website. Check it out. It's awesome. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
And thank you all for being with us on this edition of PMEA's Techno Podcast. We'll see you next time.